For all the latest news in North Central Washington, go to ncwlife.com or find us on Facebook. Got a news tip? Email us at news@ncwlife.com or call 888-2020.
Hi, welcome to Life with Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for joining me today. I have a guest here today who I've had last season. Her name is April Welch. She is the founder and owner,
yes,
operator, CEO, all those
hats,
things
all hats.
of Flirting with Social. Yes. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk most specifically today about business promotion or event promotion within a business, and how do you balance using all forms of social media without overwhelming your clients or your audience. So that's why I wanted to have you here today.
Yeah.
So we're going to wing it too, because she already knows everything and I know nothing, so I can just ask her questions like a normal conversation, which is what this show's all about. So saying that, all that said, I have Facebook, I have an Instagram I don't use, I don't have Snapchat, I have Twitter I don't use unless it's connected to my Facebook, and then it automatically tweets out what I do on Facebook.
Stop that.
I know. So see, there's all these things. So let's just start somewhere.
Okay.
Where should we start?
All right, so if you want to promote an event or a launch or something that you're building up to, the main thing that I would say is, first of all, remember that you're telling a story, that you're showing the behind the scenes, that well, we may think as we're putting those promotions and campaigns together that, oh, I'm unpacking boxes to put new inventory on the shelf. This is so boring. It's actually kind of nice to pull back the curtain as a consumer and let me see, oh, they've got new stuff in.
Instead of just waiting and saying, here's our sale, or here's our event, or here's our launch.
Exactly.
You've kind of led people up to it.
Exactly.
Like a T90, T minus 25 days
exactly.
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so first the idea is to tell the story, to put it together in a way that will pique the interest, but also it includes them in the process. It brings them in and invests them into what you have going on. The second thing is, now we want to know, where are we going to tell that story? So I always start with the why and then the where. And in the where are you going to find
Is the where part of the how?
No, actually,
okay, so we're going to get to the how. Okay,
yeah.
So we've got the why you're doing it.
Why you're doing it is the launch, or to include them in the story, get them invested in your brand or your product. Now we need to look at, well, where are they online? Where do they live? Is it Instagram? Is it Snapchat? Is it Facebook? And so that's
who's
where
your audience.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's where you look at like your demographic. If you're marketing to the millennials, and the new phrase is centennials. Those are the ones coming up behind the millennials.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and if you're marketing to them, generally they're living on Snapchat and Instagram. Fun fact is that they also are on Facebook, they're just not publishing to Facebook. However, as a business, it's really hard to get noticed on Facebook. So that's why there's been a lot of, do we still invest in Facebook as a business marketing strategy?
And when I say business, I mean anything. I mean like a nonprofit that's got an event coming, and I don't mean like one event, but maybe kind of explaining the process of planning a gala, or, like you said, bringing people into that whole story. Mm-hmm. Whatever that launch is. So not necessarily only a store in downtown Wenatchee that is maybe on a bigger scale getting ready to open, and what is that backstory, and then leading up to that sort of a launch, as opposed to you have a business and you're going to have a sale or something.
Exactly. And one thing I will say that Facebook does really well is helps you promote events. So if you have a date-specific event, for example, a grand opening, or maybe you're going to do a special VIP party that's a ladies after hours kind of thing, put that into Facebook as an event from your page. Because what happens is when it gets close, Facebook is automatically bringing those things up in people's feeds. So even if you didn't see it initially, it might come and say, hey, did you know this is happening this week? Or friends, events your friends are interested in this week, or your friends are going to this tomorrow, and it pops up as those notifications. So they've done a really good job of helping the businesses to promote those geographically based events. So that's where Facebook is really good. For the storytelling part, depending on who you're trying to reach, it's probably Instagram with the photos, Snapchat with the stories, and I know Snapchat is so intimidating to our generation.
Well, and what if it's mostly young people? Like, I don't know, what's the demographic of Snapchat?
Snapchat, you know, I'm going to say right now we're looking at, and I mean this is so date specific, so if you're watching a rerun of this in 3 years, please disregard what I'm about to say. But you know, anywhere from the, you know, let's say 14 up to maybe the 23, 24-year-olds. And that doesn't encompass all of them. I have a 19-year-old that doesn't necessarily publish on Snapchat, but he goes through and watches his friends' stories. So again, it's how they're consuming, but also how they're publishing. And just because you don't see them publishing doesn't mean they're not there. They could still be watching what you're doing.
They're just not engaging.
Exactly.
So then but I thought you couldn't do videos on Instagram.
Yes, you can.
Could you always?
Yeah, well, what's happened is that Facebook bought Instagram, and shortly thereafter, Snapchat became a thing and was really popular and was taking a lot of the user base away from Facebook as far as engagement goes and publishing. And so Facebook's way of answering that is to incorporate a lot of the Snapchat features into Instagram. So you have Instagram Stories, which is just like the Snapchat Stories. It expires in 24 hours. You can save it into your memories. You can archive things. So they've added a lot of things. I'm going to say over the last year or so, they've been basically chasing all the updates that Snapchat's been doing that you can now do on Instagram. The bonus of that is all of us who went on Snapchat to follow our kids around, now when Instagram has done it, we now see a purpose for it because we have that context of the photo feed. And so it's not just, oh, I can't find anybody on Snapchat, I'm trying to watch my kids and catch them in the 24 hours. Now it's, well, I'm already on Instagram, I'm doing pictures, so I'll go ahead and do the fun videos.
Well, the thing, I've been on Facebook for a long time, and it's pretty much the only one that I use regularly, and that I'm quite comfortable with, and I use it pretty much daily. I took a break from it for the summer. I just deactivated. I didn't just not go. I deactivated and didn't have access to it for my own reasons, and it was a nice break, which we could have a whole show about that, right? So I guess what I'm saying now is, when I said to you, my Twitter's linked to my Facebook. Why is that a terrible thing? Doesn't it save me the hassle of posting to Twitter and Facebook?
So that was the initial thinking back in the early days. I can't believe I say that, the early days of social media. But it was, okay, we have to be everywhere, and so we're going to throw a blanket out. But the advice that I give for best practices that are today is, remember that we've now segmented off of these channels. And so you have your millennials and centennials over on Snapchat, and then you've got like your Gen Y, your Gen Z that are in Instagram, and then you kind of get up to the baby boomers that are on Facebook. Well, you're not going to talk to a baby boomer the same way you're going to talk to a millennial. And so when you go and you publish out your information, you can be talking about the same thing, but you really need to customize what you're saying to the audience. And
that makes sense.
You don't use hashtags on Facebook, but you do use them on Twitter.
I use hashtags on Facebook, even though I'm not supposed to.
Well, it's not that you're not supposed to.
Well,
it's
hashtags mean something different. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, I want to address that hashtag thing, because I have no clear understanding of it.
I'm not sure we have enough time, but okay, we'll try.
We'll come back in just a moment. We're with April Welch of Flirting with Social.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
Hi, we're back. I'm talking with April Welch. She is the owner, operator, and chief person in charge of Flirting with Social. She's giving us advice primarily for businesses and how to target their audience, their clients, their buyers, but also talking about an overall launch of something, an idea. So if you were going to open a business, you'd want to start telling that story maybe when you sign the papers on the lease of the building and that sort of thing, and build that story up so that people can follow that story with you. We're talking here, April Welch. So I wanted to talk about, we were talking last segment about hashtags and how you don't use them on Facebook. But I have my sister-in-law says hashtags on Facebook are to say what you didn't say in your post. And I said, why don't I just say it in the post? She goes, no, it's just like it's an extra thing, like mom of boys, or like what I mean, just some of those things that you say after you post something.
Yeah. So
what's the point of that? Just extra?
the way that I explain hashtags from, kind of a 101 standard is hashtags really are meant to help with search. So on Twitter and Instagram, you're going to use a hashtag. For example, you might say social media marketing, or I might say social media training. And what happens is then I'm bucketed into that topic. So if somebody's looking for that, they use the hashtags to bring it all together in a stream.
So then they'd see your post or your guidance, your information, whatever you've posted.
Along with anybody else who's used that hashtag. So we all get put into a stream.
You could still be in a pretty big bucket.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, the whole country bucket or the world bucket, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then hashtags on Facebook, then what she was saying is just saying something, it doesn't do, and it's usually used personally, like on a personal page, not a business page, so it doesn't do you any good.
So originally, Facebook tried to jump into the hashtag phenomenon. However, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work as well in Facebook for discovering common conversations, probably because their algorithm is set up to be so different to do the discoverability. So what happens you have two ways of using a hashtag. So first is for business, so that you can be found, discovered, and you're in that bucket. It's kind of how you would use keywords to have your website found, okay? However, then you get into hashtags that I think, if you can think of it as what you would say under your breath, like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And that's how she's trying to explain it to you.
But not like bad under your breath behind.
It could be. So the way it was explained to me was, this is what my post is, and then my hashtag, which are those long ones that nobody is going to use to discover you, is kind of like, for me, it would be something snarky. I would say under my breath, like maybe you would whisper to your friend. Maybe she's saying, oh, as an afterthought, what I'm thinking in my head as I write this post is mom of boys.
Or let me say it before you say it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Before you think it
exactly.
about my post.
And that's what you see show up on Facebook, is it's not meant to be used as a hashtag, it's meant to be used in business, but on the personal side, it's just like, yeah, here's afterthought.
So I have a Facebook page for Life of Lisa Bradshaw.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook page for Lisa Bradshaw. And then I have a Facebook page, I mean, it's all under that umbrella for the Don't Wait Project.
Okay.
So if I want to have a message that is coming from Lisa Bradshaw, there's the Don't Wait Project, and if it's related to the show, how do I do that? Where should I do that? And how do I do it in a way that, I understand it'll be a different type of post depending on who I'm sending it to, but for the purposes of this show and probably the Don't Wait Project, it's kind of all the same audience.
Okay.
So where would I share that? How would I share that? And how do I make sure it's seen without being like everyone who what if everyone follows me on all those different mediums and then they're seeing this 4 times?
Exactly. That's another reason why you don't want to auto post to your channels with the same exact thing. So let's say, for example, and actually the first piece of advice I would say is, why do you have different pages if it's the same audience and the same content? Why not consolidate that?
Well, it's not always the same content.
Okay.
So what I post about the Don't Wait Project might have nothing to do with a show I did.
Okay.
But if I have someone on the show and it's related to the Don't Wait Project, then it's those two things together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so then there's a crossover. Now, the bigger piece of advice I would give you, especially with all the changes that they just made to Facebook pages, is to actually look at starting a Facebook group that is for your fan base that's really following your story, because the Facebook groups still have notifications that show up in the feed, whereas your Facebook page, even if your fan has said, show me this first, the pages still are not always showing up in notifications. So if you want to be telling the story and you have the Facebook group, you have a much more engaged audience. They're getting notifications. They tend to have more of a conversation with you with the comments in there. Now take what you say in there and frame it with Instagram. Now, Instagram and Facebook's demographic somewhat cross over. Again, we're talking about the same thing, we're just going to word it a little differently. So you may put a post up that says, hey, I'm doing this for the Don't Wait Project, I'm learning how to do something, because it's going to be the story. And you might on Facebook do a post with a picture of you learning it. But then over on Instagram, the picture of you learning it might have a little bit more of a description, a little bit more storytelling, because it's not as focused as a group is. But in that one, you'll have the hashtags. And so that's where you'll really push the discoverability of the Don't Wait project. And they're going to be crossing over. And again, you're going to start to pick up a different demographic over on Instagram than what you have in Facebook. And so the biggest piece of advice to take away if you're running separate channels is to understand you have to have programming for each channel. For your Facebook group, your Instagram group can be the same picture, but maybe it's a different way of saying it in each one. Make sure that you are doing them well. Otherwise, drop them off. Don't have things sitting out there with cobwebs on them just to say I have a Twitter account, because if you have a Twitter account and you're not doing anything with it, it's not doing anything for you. And when people come and look at it, they recognize, oh, they're ignoring this channel. And it kind of eats away at the trust that you've built as a brand or as a product.
Mm-hmm. So in that you were talking about, so Twitter's an even different audience.
Oh yeah.
So that's a whole different type of a post. That is more like you can put links and stuff to videos there too. Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between those and Facebook and Instagram?
So Twitter has gotten
in 30 seconds before we go to break.
Okay, I'll be a tweet about it.
Okay.
Twitter has really gotten overwhelmed with spam, and so a lot of people have left Twitter. Some people still love it, and it's still a great channel for real-time news, but Twitter will be more like, oh my gosh, this is happening, kind of breaking news is how you would look at running that channel, as opposed to Instagram might be, hey, join us for this is what we've got going on, or when I left on vacation, I did the picture from SeaTac in the airplane. All right, empty nesters on vacation with the hashtag, and that was what went on Instagram. So it was more of a, let's have a conversation, whereas Twitter is like real time, let's do this. And the time span of a tweet, I believe, is still about 9 minutes. So after 9 minutes, your tweet is buried.
Wow. Okay. We're going to come up with another segment here of questions that will hopefully answer all of your questions. I should have had like a phone here. People could call in and ask. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. We're talking with April Welch. She is the owner of Flirting with Social. And then you have some things coming up that we can invite the audience to.
Yes.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Have a fun video you'd like to see featured on NCW Life? Email us at newsphotos@ncwlife.com.
Hi, we're back on Life with Lisa Bradshaw. We're talking with April Welch. She is the owner of Flirting with Social. She's giving us advice about how to promote our business across several channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even Snapchat. And so coming back, we just have this last segment. So I thought, what if you told us the 3 things, if we have something we're wanting to promote in our business or nonprofit and events coming up, whatever that is, 3 things that we could do today that wouldn't seem too overwhelming to get started.
3 things. So first of all, look at your calendar and figure out when you want this thing to launch. Set the date, and it doesn't mean that you're doing an event. It just means this is the day that's the hard stop, essentially. And count yourself back and figure out how much time do you want to take promoting it. In general, best practices are 6 weeks. If it's local, though, I've noticed with the Wenatchee Valley, we kind of cue in around the 3-week time frame. So not that I'm saying do it last minute, but you don't have to have a huge build up to it.
You can have your rollout ready.
Exactly.
And then start it.
So figure out the when with your deadlines. Next, figure out your why. Why am I going to do this? What am I going to be talking about? And who am I going to be talking about? And then that final piece of the how. So who is going to actually write these posts and do the images and the videos and the creatives, all the logistics side of it. Mm-hmm. And then you should be able to just plug it in to what you've already created. So it's essentially sitting down and I'm going to put that organizer hat back on, and it's just creating a process. The nice part is if you do this and you go trial and error a few times of trying this kind of stuff out, you should be able to rinse and repeat at some point. You'll have a really good, you'll have a really good template that you can follow. And that's, when you see the people that are being successful with social media and doing their campaigns, which is that time frame that you're promoting, a lot of times it's because they have that set up, they have their process ready to go. And you don't have to recreate the wheel every time you're going to promote something.
So if you would use it, say you were having an event at this time of the year, and then you know that next time that you can do a lot of the same things. And that's on whatever social media platform you choose.
Exactly.
So when you get ready to launch something that you know that you've been planning for a long time, that's when you could start even rolling out content that you've been holding, right? So that it's coming to them a little bit at a time, but it's already happening, so you're working ahead of yourself, I guess, in a good way.
Yeah, you want to pre-plan as much as you can, because the biggest problem that I see marketing teams have is a lot of times a marketing team in the Valley is also the owner of the business or the worker in the store, and they have other things to do, and this is a secondary or even a third, fifth, sixth hat that they're wearing. So if you can set those times to pre-plan and pre-create, when you're rolling that stuff out and you're getting the attention that you're supposed to be getting as a result, you aren't overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I haven't posted that, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. And so it can flow into your daily process, and you're not as overwhelmed with your time management piece.
That's it also too, then once you have the event or you start the rollout, and say if it's a long process, like I said, it's like planning for an event as opposed to just, hey, we're here at the gala or we're here at the whatever it is. Then once that process starts, once your event comes, then that's when you utilize things like live on Facebook and things like that to kind of bring them into that moment.
Yeah.
How much more likely is a live post live on Facebook going to show? Is it going to show up to the people you want to because of that rule that or because of what the changes that have happened?
Yeah.
Or do they need to be in your group?
So Facebook is still ultimately competing with Snapchat, and so every time you do a live, they actually do a pretty good job of promoting in the notifications, hey, your friend is live right now, or the page is live. The problem that I see when people or when businesses do Facebook Live is that they are struggling with what to say. There's a lot of the, oh gosh, I've been on here for 3 minutes. And we have that rule that a lot of us have embedded in the back of our head with YouTube.
Yeah, nobody's going to watch that long.
Exactly. On YouTube, nobody goes past 3 minutes. On Facebook, you need to be at about 15 minutes before you really start to have an audience that's engaging, because people have to see the notification, they have to jump in, they have to have some time to join you. So even having a little bit of a scripted, and I don't mean dry reading it from a piece of paper scripted, but some sense of scripted for maybe your first 5 minutes. What are you going to say while you feel like there's crickets, in your studio with you, until you start to have the questions. The nice part is,
what do you do with the people that were on there from the beginning?
I was going to say, the nice part is that once you've built the audience and people are like, oh, and you can let people know I'm going to be live. So once you've built the audience and you're live, then they'll jump in right away, and you don't have to have as much scripted. They will stay. They'll stick around for the questions, especially if you are giving such value and you're relevant. All of those things that you need to have to be doing social media marketing.
All of this is good advice. A little overwhelming advice, but good advice.
Yes, and it's like a fire hose. So, pick something small and work with it. I'm always available for consultations if you need some help figuring out the strategy. A lot of the businesses that I'm working with right now are creating their process to help them map it out so that they're not overwhelmed.
So there's another arm of your business, and what is that called?
Social Media School, NCW, for North Central Washington.
So you do that in like a classroom setting?
Yeah, I have workshops every month. The membership is $25 a month, or you can attend the workshop for $35 as a 1-month pass, and it comes with a Facebook group that is support in between our workshops. I normally teach at Pybus, but they're about to start remodeling their event room, so my classes are going to be online, which is nice because if you can't make the recorded time, it's recorded right away and you have access to it as a DIY, which is also nice because then you can pause me and rewind if you didn't understand what I said.
Show, pause, rewind.
Yes.
So then you have an event coming up.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I am producing the Digital Advertising Summit, March 23rd at the CTC, the Confluence Technology Center. Those will also be recorded, but we're going to roll them out packaged a little differently than normal. I have speakers from Wenatchee Valley College Center for Entrepreneurship, Stacy Lukensmeyer, Numerica's Jessica Clay, and Holly Flick out of Kashmir that specializes in Facebook ads. And then I will be speaking in partnership with Alpha Media about what to expect when you do digital advertising, what reports look like, how to know if what the money you've spent is actually giving you a return on your investment.
So that wraps us up. Thanks for being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.